Hey y'all, welcome to the Southern Appalachian Herbal Podcast. I'm Judson Carroll and I'm an herbalist. I'm also a wild crafter, a gardener, and herb grower. I'm coming to you from high atop the beautiful Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina, just a stone's throw from the Tennessee line, overlooking the Pisgah National Forest. Absolutely surrounded by the bounty of God's green earth. I spent most of my life wandering these mountains and learning about plants from the old timers and all sorts of characters. On this show, we'll talk about herbs and how to use them, how to find them, how to grow them, how to make preparations. We'll talk about a lot of things. We can also talk about permaculture, homesteading, foraging, and living off the land. Most anything, really. You can email me at southernappalachianherbs@gmail.com if you have a question or a comment. You can also contact me through the Grow Network, where I'm a regular contributor and a moderator for the forums. And my blog is, of course, southernappalachianherbs@blogspot.com. All right, y'all. I'm going to sit my guitar down and let's talk about herbs. Hey y'all, welcome to the show. This week I'm going to be talking about herbal energetics. I want to make it, I'll kind of demystify it a little bit. But before I do, I want to give you an update on the free herb classes I've been doing. And wow, are they taking off? We are now getting about 400 people a week watching each of my herbal videos. And I'm really happy about it. If you haven't started taking them, you can pick up from the beginning or you can start in the middle. It doesn't matter to me. And they're absolutely free. They're on Rumble. And unlike, I guess, just about everybody else out there, I'm not even asking you for an email to sign up. I don't have a mailing list. So this is absolutely free. And I'm just doing it to help herbal medicine become accessible to regular people. So go to my blog. It's southernappalachianherbs.blogspot.com, and you'll find all the information on it, or you can look for me on Rumble, and it's not too hard to find. It's under Judson Carroll, and or Herbal Medicine 101 if you want to look for the channel. So, but tell your friends about it and get them to sign up because there is no sign up. Just get them to start taking the classes because it's fun. We're having a good time, and in my normal way, I'm just giving information in a very approachable and basic, common sense way. And that's what I'm going to do today with herbal energetics. If you've gotten in herbs at all, you've probably seen this term. And most people, when they try to explain it, even if they do a good job explaining it, really overcomplicate it. All right. So what are herbal energetics? All right. This is going to happen to you if it hasn't happened yet. It happens to every herbalist. You let's say you have a health issue and you go to a book or you go online and you look it up. This always happens when people Google for results. Google is not the best way to find information on herbal medicine unless it takes you to my blog. Then it's a good thing. But if you or you go on a forum, these online forums, people say what herbs are good for fill in the blank, whatever condition they've got, and people just start listing stuff. They don't tell you why the herbs work or how the herbs work, and you try the herb and it doesn't work for you. It's disappointing. It's a waste of time and money, and hopefully you don't have a bad reaction to it. 'Cause, that can happen too. I mean, we all have little allergies we don't know about or sensitivities that we don't discover until we experience them. Or, you tried something and it worked for you. It worked for your condition, whatever that condition is. And a friend of yours has a similar condition. And you'd say, hey, I swear by this herb. It works for me. And they try it and it doesn't work for them. That's never a fun thing if you're in a position of being an herbalist. Um, but why didn't it work for him? Okay, well, people are different. What do I say in my disclaimer at the end of every show? What works for me may not work for you. Everybody is different. Everybody has different constitutional characteristics. So herbal energetics is not just saying this herb works for this condition or this herb helps with this illness. Herbal energetics is matching the herb to the person. And this is every school of herbalism really has this, whether it's formalized or not. Traditional Chinese medicine is all about herbal energetics. It's balancing, well, they would say yin and yang, for proper, good healthy qi. I studied traditional Chinese medicine for about a decade, but that's not really the school I use. I'm more of from a Western European folk medicine um, mindset. Um, the Indian Ayurvedic medicine, they definitely very much on the herbal energetics. Traditional Greek herbalism, the foundation of all European herbalism, is totally based on not only the characteristics and qualities of the various plants, but on an herbal energetic system. They call it humors. Well, but even if your thing is Native American or German or British herbal or folk medicine, as you learn plants and people, you learn to almost intuitively know which plant is going to work better for that person. So even if it's not formalized, that is part of every herbal tradition. And so I'm going to just try to lay it out so everybody can understand. Really, in American herbalism, the herbalist Michael Moore, the late herbalist who had the Southwestern School of Botanical Medicine, his system that he came up with, which he called an energetic system, is probably the most approachable for people that don't have a background in Chinese or Indian, foreign system of herbal medicine. And this doesn't use any esoteric words or concepts or foreign language. So I think it's a good jumping off place for us. Okay, so the way he came up with this, and again, this is the herbalist, not the filmmaker. Don't confuse the two. The filmmaker is very much still alive and still just as much of a jerk as ever. I'm not a fan. Michael Moore was eccentric, bombastic, unique character. Probably not somebody I would have gotten along with in real life, but I did his Southwest School of Botanical Medicine course. Both courses, we're talking like 400 or 500 hours of herbal medicine, and I think I have a pretty good understanding of where he was coming from on this stuff. And he was a brilliant herbalist. Um, yeah, he really did know his stuff. So the way this started was he had a client come in, and this person was having eczema or rashes, and they just started after they had been exposed to some solvent. Now, the liver and the skin are very closely related. The liver processes the toxins, cleans the blood when you sleep. Solvents disturb liver function. Alcohol is a solvent, by the way, but so are a lot of the cleaning products. If you work on engines and you have oil on your hand, you're going to be exposed to a lot of solvents. Well, this guy had been exposed to solvents. He was also a bartender, and he started having these skin issues. So, like any good herbalist would, Moore gave him a liver herb. I believe he gave him barberry. Could have been Oregon grape. It was, those are two very closely related berberine containing herbs, which stimulate liver function. The idea being that give the liver a little poke, stimulate it, and you can encourage it to clean up the blood a little more efficiently, and then the skin gets better. Well, so he gave him these herbs, and the guy's condition got worse. In fact, he broke out in hives. The exact opposite thing he expected to happen happened. Well, why is this? Well, the guy didn't have any family history of bad allergies or skin complaints. He hadn't had a history of this in his life. This was obviously caused by the solvents he'd been working with, and probably the cleaners and the alcohol he was working with in his profession. It was obviously a liver issue, but the herb to stimulate the liver did not help. It made things worse. Well, the light went off. Instead of using a liver herb that would stimulate the liver, he turned to a couple of liver herbs that would calm the liver while also supporting function. That was dandelion and burdock. He gave those to the guy got better. Very simple. You got two liver herbs, both of which help the liver function. One, the stimulating herb, because the guy's liver was already taxed and exhausted, was putting more stress on the liver. The calming, or you might say from an energetics perspective, cooling liver herb enable the guy's liver to adjust, go ahead and clean up his body and start working normally again. Very simple, right? So let's think about it from this way. People come in different sizes and shapes. We all know that, right? There are some pretty stereotypical body types. People are fat or skinny or somewhere in between, right? Well, you can be a fat person who is fat and soft, or a fat person who's fat and muscular. You know, someone who has that football player's build. You can be a skinny person who's lean and wiry, or you can be a skinny person who's weak and soft. You can be anywhere in the middle, but that body type really dictates a lot about how your metabolism works. You may be a high energy person or a low energy person. You may be a person that's hot natured or cool natured, a person who has dry skin or moist skin, a person who's more prone to constipation or more prone to diarrhea, or with any of these, you may be right in the middle and your digestion is regular. You don't have the extremes of hot and cold. You know, you're solidly built, but you're not skinny, you're not fat. Maybe you put on a little weight around the midsection, but you're kind of balanced. Herbs are going to work differently for each of those people. To give you another example from Michael Moore, this was actually really frustrating at the time. I read an article on licorice root. Now, licorice root is an excellent herb for weak kidneys, kidney deficiency in terms of how we're thinking energetically. What are the symptoms of that? Well, if you stand up and you get dizzy, that means your kidneys aren't really holding enough water to keep your blood pressure balanced. So you have a drop in blood pressure. If you're sensitive to changes in elevation, if you're sensitive to weather changes, especially like the barometric pressure really messes with you, that's a sign of weak kidneys or kidney deficiency. Frequent urination and uh, pale urination, like clear urine, that's a sign that, you know, your kidneys are letting out the water a little too quickly and a little too often. So licorice root can really help strengthen the kidneys. And another, you know, aspect of that is kidney tissue is related to lung tissue just the same way as liver tissue is related to skin tissue. When you have healthy kidneys and strong kidneys, you tend to have strong lungs. So if you have weak lungs, you may very well have weak kidneys. Now, this isn't universal. Again, this goes back to body type. Someone may be, you know, real delicate features. They're not made for outdoor work. You know the type I'm talking about. They may have a little low blood pressure issue just based on their constitution. May not have much to do with their kidneys at all. Someone may be athletic and strong, but they're very tall. Especially as a teenager, when you hit those growth spurts, like this happened to me, I would stand up and I'd start to get all, you know, woozy and start to black out. That's just because I kind of outgrew my kidney capacity for a while. Well, one of the main constitutional types that has an issue with this is what Michael Moore would have called the anabolic type. These are the football players. These are the, you know, heavy fat or heavy muscle men. They tend to have high blood pressure, sweaty, red faces. You can picture this. As they get older, I mean, not when they're young. When they're young, I mean, they're built to be warriors, and that's what they are. Or they're built to be, you know, outdoor workers, and you know that's what their genetics intended them for. They don't often do well with desk jobs later in life. That's when they get the red face and start putting on a lot of fat. For women, it tends to be after like postmenopausal. You can probably picture the type, the loud, strong, kind of stocky woman who takes over a local club and starts telling everybody what to do. That's, you know, if you get that image in your mind, that bullhorn voice, and she's not going to put up with anybody that disagrees with her, that's what you would call an anabolic type in a postmenopausal woman. You know, wide hips, thick thighs. Again, usually a problem with blood pressure. When I did this article on licorice, my friend Tori, a clinical herbalist from up in Canada, she said, you know, you really ought to put in a warning that licorice can cause high blood pressure in some people. And I said, yeah, I agree, but Here's my problem. I can't find any documentation. I went through all the clinical studies, and I mean, all my books say can cause high blood pressure in some people. I can't find a clinical study, and I hate not to cite something. When I put out information, I want to tell you exactly where I got it from. And I asked her, can you find any clinical studies saying how and why this happens? She couldn't either. And we basically agreed I should put in some people this can be a problem, sort of a disclaimer. Well, like 400 hours into the Southwestern School of Botanical Medicine and all the class notes, I mean, there's a whole library that came with this thing. He explained that in anabolic types, what he calls the anabolic grease ball, the high intensity, high blood pressure person who puts on a lot of muscle and fat easily, it can increase over time, a duration of use, aldosterone. Aldosterone causes the body to hold on to more salt. Holding on to more salt causes the increase in blood pressure. Simple as can be. Apparently, no one else but him figured it out. Where he got the information from, I'm not sure. But with all the research I've found, yes, that does seem to be the answer. So, you got somebody with kidney deficiency coming in. It's obvious from all the symptoms of lightheadedness when they stand up, problems with elevation, problems with weather, frequent urination. And you think, all right, I'm going to give them some licorice root and this is going to help. Well, if they're an anabolic type, that's not going to work with their constitution. So, see, it's really that simple. You can get into all these different factors, but what you're really doing is matching the person to the herb. So, how would we approach this? What's a really good common sense way of doing it? Well, if it's you or someone you're trying to help with herbs, what's their body type? Make a list of their characteristics, ask them questions, especially ask them their medical history. I mean, people that go to regular doctors these days are being prescribed so much medication. I mean, I'm surprised they don't rattle when they walk. You never know when you give somebody an herb if it's going to, be contraindicated to some prescription medication they're on. I mean, people are on not only things for blood pressure and cholesterol, but we're talking psychoactive medication, um, antidepressants, sedatives, antipsychotics are being handed out like candy, it seems these days, ADD medications, um, pain medications. I mean, you've heard about all the drug overdoses. Related to OxyContin and the street versions, which are full of fentanyl. This is bad stuff. All right, so people are on all these different medications for different reasons, and you have to make sure you have an idea of this person's medical history and look for the herbs and make sure they're not contraindicated with either a condition they have or something they're taking. Well, then you can look at their body type. You can look at whether they're more high blood pressure or low blood pressure, whether they're more hot or cold natured, whether they're more excitable, whether they're more prone to depression or irritability, and then just kind of use a little common sense. Make your list of herbs, and this is especially important when you're making formulas. You know, it's easier to treat what I would call an acute condition. If someone's got a cough, they got a cold, they got a flu, they got a sprain or a cut, it's a short term, intensely uncomfortable situation, and herbs are more simple in those actions. There's a bruise, okay, grab some arnica. You got a sore throat, get the sage tea out. Well, you know what? Easy stuff, right? When you're dealing with more like autoimmune conditions or even cancer, something that's long going and has to be managed, that's when this gets important. Because people taking herbs for long term, over a long period of time, are going to experience not only the positive effects, but if there are any negative side effects of these herbs. This is when it's important to think along these lines. If you're making a formula, especially you're combining herbs. So you've got an idea of the person now. Look up what herbs you're going to use. Either go from memory or open your favorite herbal book. Make that list. And all right, so I'm using these herbs to treat this condition. what possible side effects or qualities do these herbs have that could aggravate some other condition the person has or their general nature, their constitution. You know, the other way herbs are kind of energetic is we're trying to put somebody back into balance. Health is balance. We're trying to put ourselves back into balance. Any disease or disorder or sickness, your body's out of balance. So herbs kind of push things one way or another, and it's better to make gradual, subtle changes than big shifts, except in a first aid situation like an acute disorder. So we're looking at herbs to just kind of nudge a little bit this way and nudge a little bit that way. So if we're looking at herbs for, oh, I don't know, asthma, for instance, we've got to look at, well, what type of asthma is it? Is it spasmodic asthma? Is it congestive? Is it inflammation? Is it emotional? And then the herbs we use have to suit that. But now let's say this person has, well, they're prone to high blood pressure. We're looking for a nice expectorant and bronchodilator. A lot of those tend to be stimulating. They tend to be like ephedrine or, mahuang, Mormon tea. You can't give that to a person with high blood pressure. So we're going to go ahead and say, well, this may have been the go-to herb. We're taking it off the list. We're going to try maybe thyme instead. It really is that simple. Some herbs are heating. If the person tends to be hot nature, we don't want to make them more so. Some herbs are sedative. If the person has low blood pressure, we don't want to make them more so. So we're just going to kind of go through that list and make our notes and decide, yeah, this is a good one, and maybe I'm going to find an alternative to this one. It's really that simple. And that's why I say, even in herbal traditions that don't have a formal herbal energetics way of looking at things, it becomes intuitive. It's just matching the right herbs to the person. But probably the easiest way to kind of illustrate this is with adaptogens. Adaptogens are that unique class of herbs. They usually act on a gland, like the pituitary or the thyroid. They help the body deal with stress. Most famous, of course, is ginseng. American or Chinese ginseng, Annex ginseng. It helps you get your energy back, get your stamina back, helps with sexual dysfunction, helps with recovering from illnesses and generally supporting the immune system. What does all this have in common? Well, this is an excellent herb for middle-aged and older men who've kind of lost a step. It helps bring them back. Siberian ginseng is it's actually not a true ginseng. It's similar to ginseng, so it's called ginseng. It has a lot of immune supportive properties, but also really helps with stamina and endurance. Your Aurelias include, spikenard, devil's club, sarsaparilla. They do similar things, but in much more subtle ways, not as strong. They're immunosupportive and help give you a little energy. Others would be ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is an adaptogen that helps your body deal with stress, but it's strongly sedative. Strongly sedative. Um, Gutta Um, Glutathione is really it's great for the immune system. It helps with some of the organ systems and such. Again, it helps your body deal with stress. It's good for recovering from colds and really more long-term illnesses, injuries. Then we get into like Ganoderma, reishi mushroom. I'm going to put reishi mushroom more on, like, say, if I was looking at energetically, the cooling side. It's calming and it's immune supportive and it helps with endurance and all that. Another mushroom is cordyceps. That's going to be on the hot side. Cordyceps is strongly energetic. It is endurance, high performance athletes love cordyceps. For someone who's not a high performance athlete, it maybe helps with concentration and mental focus and intensity. But again, it's helping you deal with the stress, whether it's working long hours or being a champion cyclist. Others would be uh, rose root, rhodiola, what, maca, um, and let's see, there's one on the tip of my tongue that's not coming to me. But like maca, it is energetic. Um, it really just kind of gives you energy and heat. And a lot of weightlifters will combine it with tribulus terrestris. Um, weightlifters and men who have sexual dysfunction, it increases circulation and pushes the blood out there and has a little bit of an anabolic effect. Um, Weightlifters say that it helps them do an extra set or lift just a little more weight. It probably helps you recover better after stress. Now, why is it when we think about these adaptogens, they work for some people and they won't work for others, or they work differently for different people? Again, it's the person's constitution. You know, if you were asked to walk a mile, and let's say you had three people asked to walk a mile, one of them is a high performance athlete. They've walked that mile. It was just a warm up. They want to go out and run that, run four more miles, right? Another one is a very weak, sickly person. Either they've been sick for a while, they have a chronic condition, or it's age related, and they feel like they can barely make it a quarter mile. And then there's someone in the middle who can walk a mile and they don't get too winded, but they probably don't want to go any further. They take an adaptogen that's suited to them, say it's ginseng, for instance, or maybe it's, cordyceps for the high performance athlete. I mean, not only did he just walk that mile and, now he's ready to run 4 miles, he's ready to run 10 miles. He's just saying, wow, this is fantastic stuff. The sickly or weakened person, they took it, let's say it's ginseng, let's say it's, whatever suits their constitution a little more. And yeah, they were not only able to walk a quarter mile, but they were able to walk a half mile and they didn't feel winded and they think, wow, this is what I've been looking for. This makes me feel like I can go a little further, a little more like myself. The guy in the middle who's fairly healthy and didn't get wiped out from walking the mile, maybe he says, I didn't even notice anything. I mean, if he's really paying attention, he may think, yeah, all right, I can go a little bit further. I'm going to recover quickly, but he's not going to notice big benefits. So why is it when one person takes ginseng, they notice a huge difference, and when another person takes ginseng, they notice nothing? It's all about their constitution. The constitution determines which adaptogen is going to work for them better, how that adaptogen is going to affect them, and really if they even notice any difference. So the bottom line is match the herb to the person. So you've got an idea of the person's characteristics, their constitution. You know what the problem is you're trying to solve, whatever the disorder is. You make a list of the herbs that could possibly help, and you go through all the different side effects of the herb. If it's a spice, is it going to be warming? Do you want them warmer? If it's, a relaxing herb that's sedative, do you want to lower their blood pressure? Like I said, it's really that simple. And when we take that mindset, we can easily just do a little cross-referencing and we figured out how to match the herb to the person. Now, you can get much more complicated with it. You can get into how the way herbs taste tells you a lot about their characteristics. Whether the herb's bitter or sour or sweet, that's great. There are some fantastic herbalists that do that. You can get into, the Chinese model or the Ayurvedic model or whatever, but the bottom line is you're just matching the herb to the person rather than treating the symptoms or trying to just simply cure a disease. It's no more complicated than that. So anyway, I hope this helped. There's some great books. I think most of the modern herbalists that are putting out books these days do include the energetic aspects of the herbs. You can get the energetics of Western herbs. I think it's a 2 volume set. It's very expensive. It's totally comprehensive. I mean, it will, kind of mind-bogglingly complex, but you don't have to make it any more complex than what I just gave you, unless, you want to go to that next level, if you want to go to that advanced level. But for simple home medicine, this is herbal energetics. You can wrap your mind around, and I hope it helped. Let me know if you have any questions, and don't forget about those free herb classes. Free. Go to the blog and find out all about them. And I'll see y'all next week. The information in this podcast is not intended to diagnose or treat any disease or condition. Nothing I say or write has been evaluated or approved by the FDA. I'm not a doctor. The U.S. government does not recognize the practice of herbal medicine, and there is no governing body regulating herbalists. Therefore, I'm really just a guy who studies herbs. I'm not offering any advice. I won't even claim that anything I write or say is accurate or true. I can tell you what herbs have been traditionally used for. I can tell you my own experience and if I believe an herb has helped me. I cannot nor would I tell you to do the same. If you use an herb anyone recommends, you are treating yourself. You take full responsibility for your health. Humans are individuals and no two are identical. What works for me may not work for you. You may have an allergy, a sensitivity, an underlying condition that no one else even shares and you don't even know about. Be careful with your health. By continuing to listen to my podcast or read my blog, you agree to be responsible for yourself, do your own research, make your own choices, and not to blame me for anything ever.